This is a very recent article published on 22nd of November in the Indian Express, where the author argues how it is high time that we should revamp the institution of governor and how there are a lot of colonial legacies with the institution of governor. Well, you might agree to the author's views, you might disagree to the author's views, but what I'm trying to highlight in here, governor and governor's position comes about to be in news for one reason or the other time and again. And therefore, it becomes very, very important for your UPSC exam preparation. Hi everyone, welcome to Edukemy. My name is Neelam Bhatia and we are running a series called Gear Up for Prelims, where we help you prepare important topics which will be super helpful in your prelims journey and help you ace the exam in 2024. So the topic, as obvious, we are taking up today is governor, and we'll go into details and nuances of the topic. For your information, along with this video, we are also providing you a document जिसमें कि आपको short notes दिए गए हैं इस topic के ऊपर. Also, वो important articles जो news में हैं, उनको भी share किया गया है. And also, we have given you some PYQs ताकि आप practice करके देख सकें कि आपको ये topic समझ में आया या नहीं. So let's get started. So whenever we talk about the state executive, remember it includes council of ministers headed by the chief minister and the governor. So governor essentially is the chief executive head of the state, and definitely he or she is a nominal head, a titular head, because the real center of power is the council of ministers headed by the chief minister. So the question is, who appoints the governor? Unlike the president, there are no elections. We know president is indirectly elected, but for governor there is no election because governor is appointed by the president under his or her hand and seal. So essentially, it's a position which is nominated in nature. But please understand that governor is not somebody subordinate to the union government. It's an independent office. So it's not like the governor is supposed to be a part of the union executive. No. Governor is a constitutional position, and Article 153 says that there would be a governor for a state. However, there was an amendment made to this, and this is important. That is the 7th amendment. The year was 1956. And what this amendment said was, one governor can be given charge of 2 or more than 2 states. So now what can happen is there can be 2 states and there can be one common governor of these 2 states. So 3 states and one common governor. This was by 7th amendment of 1956. What about the qualifications that are required to be a governor? So there are essentially 2 important qualifications. One, you should be citizen of India. Second, you should be 35 years of age. So now this is interesting because beyond these qualifications, there are 2 conditions as well. One, you should not hold any office of profit. And second, you cannot be a member of either of the 2 houses of the parliament or of the state legislature of any state. Now, by convention, there are some other rules that are followed. Like a person who belongs to the same state is not often appointed the governor of that state. And sometimes the governor, while being appointed by the president consults the chief minister of that state. However, remember, both of these are only conventions and they are violated time and again, and it is not a mandatory provision to agree or to follow these 2 conventions. Next important aspect to consider is the term or the tenure of the governor. So remember, there is no fixed tenure of the governor, and actually governor works on the pleasure of the president, which essentially means he or she can be removed from his or her position anytime by the president. And also, there are no grounds mentioned in the constitution for the removal of the governor. So now you understand how there is no security of tenure, and essentially the governor works at the pleasure of the president. One more thing that might come to your mind is, can the governor be reappointed? Yes, the governor can be reappointed. Also, can the governor be transferred? Yes. So president can transfer the governor from one state to another. There is one more important aspect to it, and that is we need to maintain a continuum in the position of the governor. So there is a provision which says that in case the 5-year tenure of the governor is over, right? And the new governor has not been appointed and has not assumed office, then in that case, the previous governor can continue till the next one assumes office. This is done to maintain continuity in the position of the governor. What about the allowances, the privilege, the emoluments that a governor is entitled to? So all this is decided by the parliament, but remember, it cannot be diminished during the tenure of the governor. So once it has been decided during the tenure, it cannot be reduced. Also remember, in case a governor is serving 2 or more states, then what happens? So then in this case, the allowances are shared between them, and what would be the proportion? That would be decided by the president. So who will give 40%, 50%? That would be decided by the president. So of course, this is common knowledge that the governor can use the Raj Bhavan and he or she does not have to pay any rent. Interesting aspect is about the immunities that are enjoyed by the governor. Now this is very crucial, take note of this. So a governor cannot be imprisoned, right? In case of criminal proceedings, no criminal proceedings can be initiated against the governor, even in respect to personal acts. However, you can start with civil proceedings with respect to his personal act, but for that also there has to be a 2-month prior notice. And under no condition, arrest and imprisonment of governor is not possible, and these are the immunities that lies with the governor. Now let us discuss the executive powers of the governor. First thing first, all the executive action, all the government functioning is done in the name of the governor. Also remember, if the governor wants, he or she may make up certain rules for the smooth transaction of the business of the state government. Also, who appoints the council of ministers and the chief minister? It is the governor who appoints them. Now here is an interesting fact. In these 4 states, that is Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, the governor also appoints a tribal welfare minister. Also, it is the governor who appoints the advocate general and also decides what would be the emoluments that would be given to the advocate general. Whenever we are talking about executive powers, we must remember that he appoints 3 important functionaries. One is the state election commissioner, the other one is the member and the chairman of the state public service commission, and also the vice chancellors of the universities in the state. How about president's rule or state emergency? So in case there is a constitutional emergency, then this recommendation is sent to the president by the governor only. And if a state comes under president's rule, then in that case, governor assumes a lot of power, because then the governor is working for the president as an agent of the president, and therefore governor assumes a lot of powers in case of state emergency. Now let us talk about the legislative powers of the governor. Now definitely, governor is an integral part of the state legislature. It is only when you include governor then the state legislature can be complete. So he assumes a lot of responsibility. And the first one is summoning or prorogue of the house. Also dissolving the legislative assembly is the prerogative of the governor. Now what about in case of bills? So once the bill is passed by the state legislature, it goes to the governor. Now what all options does the governor have? One is the governor can give his or her assent. Second is the governor can withhold his or her assent. Third that the governor can do is to send the bill for reconsideration. Now this is not applicable in case of money bill. However, there is 4th important aspect to it, and that is the governor can decide to reserve the bill for the consideration of the president. Now there are certain issues on which the governor must reserve the bill for the consideration of the president. याद रखिएगा, अगर ऐसा कोई बिल है जो कि हाईकोर्ट की पावर को अंडरमाइन कर रहा है और स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर द्वारा पास किया गया है, so such a bill must be sent by the governor to the president. So in this case, the governor not really has a choice. He or she has to send it for the consideration by the president. इसके अलावा भी अगर उन्हें लगता है कि कोई बिल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोविजंस के अगेंस्ट है, it is violative of directive principles, or it is dealing with Article 31A, or it is not in the larger interest of the society, then in all these cases also the governor can decide to reserve that bill for the consideration of the president. Also remember, it is the governor who nominates 1/6 members to the legislative council in case a state has legislative council for people who are from the field of arts, science, social service, etc. Also remember, it is the governor who lays the reports of certain important institutions like the State Public Service Commission, the Finance Commission, also reports related to the state by Comptroller and Auditor General. They are presented before the state legislature via the governor. Does the governor have some role in terms of financial aspects also? Yes. So it is the governor who confirms that the budget is laid, the budget or the annual financial statement is laid before the state legislature. Also remember, no money bill can be introduced without the prior recommendation of the governor. Also, to ask for demand for grants, you need the permission of the governor. In fact, if there is some exigency, कोई emergency situation आ गई है, तो contingency fund of the states में से advances करने के लिए भी governor ही सामने आएंगे. So it is the governor who has the power to make advances out of the contingency fund of the state. Also, to ensure that the financial framework of panchayats and municipalities is working fine, what governor does is he or she constitutes a state finance commission every 5 years. Finally, let us discuss about the judicial powers of the governor. So first thing is the governor has pardoning powers. Like we have president having the pardoning powers, governor also has some pardoning powers. So governor can commute, reprieve, respite, remit and also commute certain offences which fall under the executive jurisdiction of that state. So if it is under the executive jurisdiction of the state, that can be pardoned by the governor. However, please remember, in case of a death sentence, the governor cannot pardon it. Only and only president has the power to pardon a death sentence. Governor cannot pardon a death sentence. Also, if it is a matter of court martial, then it cannot be taken up by governor. That can only be taken up by president. Remember these 2 points. This is what distinguishes the pardoning power of the president and the governor. Also remember, president makes appointment to the judges of the state high court. So the concerned high court judges are appointed by the president. But while doing so, president consults the governor. This is also an important point. Now the district judges are appointed by the governor, of course, in consultation with the respective high court. And finally, to other judicial services. So for other judicial services, that is except the district judges, the appointment is again made by the governor and now in consultation with the high court as well as the Public Service Commission. So I'm sure you must have taken note of some very, very important points that we discussed. Governor is definitely an important topic and all the nuances that I discussed with you today must be very thoroughly revised for your prelims examination. So take complete benefit of this series that we are bringing for you. Also remember to download the PDF that we have attached and watch out this space for the program that we'll be having for your prelims preparation so that you ace your prelims 2024. All the very best and prepare well.